or urban design and management, there is an absolute necessity for empirical evidence-based policies whereby the policies are designed with the particular empirical evidence in mind, and as the implementation proceeds, the evidence that is generated is then brought back in a feedback loop in improving the policy. So that area is lacking in most countries that I work with, whether it is China or India or Indonesia and so on. So the empirical evidence base is particularly important in environment because the global averages or the national averages have very little meaning in a particular context because the same policy in a different climatic zone or in different institutional environment and the different capabilities. Gujarat's capabilities, for example, are very high. Some other states do not have such high capabilities. So what may work in Gujarat may not work in the other parts of the country. So that nuance, how do you bring that into the public policy is really one of the very important ways in which the private sector bad or vice versa to really make much progress. A lot of public policies fail because of that. Now, in India in particular, there is a lot of thinking that is very contradictory. When we ask the Indian policymakers or Indian analysts, the civil society, business groups, others, they will all provide many instances of government failure. The example that was given about Bihar, about the electricity 50 years ago, and under the Chief Minister Yadav, who was explicitly against any development because that would empower the people, is a case in point. So there is a lot of talk about government failure, but at the same time, in the same breath, government schemes, quote unquote, are seen to be the solution to most of the problems. And when the government doesn't have the capacity to really carry out many of the things that it wants to, there is not enough understanding. The civil service recruitment is such which does not bring in the expertise that is needed midway, and the career of the civil servants and the training is such that very complex solutions cannot really be undertaken with the kind of HR policies that are followed by many mainstream government organizations. So let's take consumer protection, which is one part. A lot of people would favor all kinds of consumer protection laws or all kinds of environmental protection laws. How many studies have been done which demonstrate empirically what is the economic cost of those regulations? Because all regulations have economic costs. And who bears them? So it turns out, like the debate right now about microfinance regulation that Andhra Pradesh wants to do, Andhra Pradesh is going to harm the very people that microfinance was supposed to help through their regulation. Or the headline in today's Economic Times that NABARD will regulate microfinance. The first principle of good governance is that a service provider should not be regulating the sector. You cannot ask State Bank of India to regulate the banking sector, but we are asking NABARD to regulate the microfinance, but NABARD is an important player in microfinance. So this is where the larger issues that come in. It's not a wish list. It is not something that we just keep on putting down, this is desirable, this is desirable, this is what we should have, this is what we should have. It's the effective public policies don't work from the heart. They work from the head. And they require a level of discipline and understanding that we need to cultivate far more. This applies in sustainable development as well. One of the few times I have trespassed on this topic was in 1997 or 98 when I wrote a textbook on environment in the developing world, which was used in the US and UK and other countries as a textbook with one of the physical geographers from the UK. And one of the hardest things that we had when we were writing that book was to actually define what is meant by sustainable development. And we couldn't really come up with analytically rigorous definition that we can then start applying for, let's say, land or water or agriculture, or whether large dams are desirable, like the Three Gorges Dam in China, whether it's going to, what kind of impact it is going to create. So my plea, as I mentioned earlier, is that a good set of public policies comes about only on the back of good empirical evidence and a nuanced way in which the policies are designed, implemented with a feedback loop. And if that can exist not just by the governments, but it can exist also, it can exist primarily in a decentralized type of situation we have at the local levels. So the local level of leadership that is being attempted, that is very much in the right direction. The key is, however, that while we have many organizations in different parts of the country, relatively small, who are doing excellent work, there is no way to diffuse that knowledge to make an impact on the actual practices or on the actual policies of the government. So if we can find some way